Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor and my dog's name is Rosie here. And today we're going to share with you an energy update for May 19th, 2023. No, I'm just kidding. A lot of people ask about my doggy. I wanted to show her. She was sleeping, but I figured I'd let her come say hi. Number one, expanded vision. What I mean by that is I invite you to, if the winds of change blow in, and maybe foil your plans a little bit, alter what you were expecting and anticipating, allow it. Let go. This can happen sometimes where the hands of fate can see where you're driving and they can kind of come down and they can take the wheel. And even though you're like pretty intent on heading in the same direction, it's like, dude, take it right, because it's a better path. You've never been down this path, so you're resistant to it. You don't know where it's leading. You were comfortable with this path. It's a new path, so you might resist it. But when you allow yourself to go with the flow more, that's when you can really expand. So often, as we're embarking on a new inspired project or path or whatever, we grow a lot. We transform a great deal and we evolve ourselves. And all of a sudden, mid-journey, here we are, more capable, more empowered, a better conduit, a more clear instrument of the divine, capable of way more than we were previously imagining. It says better than you imagined. And that's not to say, you know, it's all about more, bigger. What I mean by more is more grand. More of an all-encompassing, positive outcome. And that can be larger, but it doesn't have to be. It might be deeper. It might mean more fulfilling. As an example, what comes to mind is years ago, I just had returned home from an ayahuasca ceremony, and it was late. It was like 5 in the morning. The sun had yet to come up, but it was like, you know, late, and I was sitting in my backyard, and I was under the stars, and it was a powerful night. So I was just like relieved, kind of, and also just basking in that afterglow. And in that moment, I had this insight. The insight was, I would love to organize an ayahuasca retreat. Not lead it, I'm not a shaman, but organize it, because I had a big YouTube channel, as you see, and I had the means of doing that. And it just lit me up, man. I just felt so elevated by that, so I did. I did 4 times. We did a small ayahuasca ceremony. We connected with amazing shamans, and we put them on, and we kind of hosted them. And they were so deeply fulfilling and so amazing. But the last one, the 4th one, it was great, but it was also, we knew it was time to move on in some way. And then we were kind of like sad because it seemed like that chapter had closed, but we got this idea to do maybe a little bit bigger one and bring my friend Aaron Dowdy, my other YouTube buddy, involve him and do them in Costa Rica at a full-on retreat center. And this is awesome. This is like an idea. This is where we were like, we had a vision, and we were heading down the highway, and we were excited. We kind of knew where we were going. We're going to do a bigger retreat. We got Aaron on the team. It's going to be awesome. And then we did it. We launched it. We promoted it. We filled it up with like 30-something people. And 1 month before we actually did the retreat, the medicine folks we were going to work with had to cancel. I'm not going to get into why, something with the visa or their passport or something. It's not important. But they couldn't make it. And we realized we can't cancel this. People already bought their plane ticket. They're excited, and in all of our hearts, me and Patty and my friend Aaron, we knew, the people organizing it, we knew the show must go on. We don't know how though. But in that moment, we were freaking out a little bit. We felt like, man, we're gonna have to either disappoint all these people or cancel. We were like disappointed. We were dumbfounded. Like, why would the universe do this to us? Why is this happening? This seems off, because it all felt so aligned. Well, the hands of fate took the wheel. And they said, you can do this differently. And within weeks before the retreat, my friend Aaron, he found us some different medicine workers that were already living in Costa Rica. And they told their medicine worker family. So all of a sudden this family, 20 something people came and became a part of this retreat. And ever since then, we've done 9 of those as of recently. We've done 9, and every single one has gotten better and better and better. Not bigger, but more dialed in, more powerful, more sacred, more aligned. And now we have this experience where a few times a year we get to go out there and experience what I can only say is magic. It's a true example and a true expression of the universe or God or whatever working through a lot of people for this common transformational experience. And if it didn't break down, if we weren't jerked, the wheel didn't jerk off to the right in that moment, it would have never happened like that. So I say all this to you in case you're battling with the wheel right now. This is what I was going to do. Take your hand off the wheel. Because your higher self knows better. They know you better than you know yourself. Big time. They know what you're capable of. They know the resources that will be available to you when and if you need them. They know how to bring them into your life. They know all your preferences, even the ones you haven't maybe even considered. And they know how to combine all of that into a perfectly timed, synchronistic manifestation of something beyond you, where you're in a relationship, in cahoots with spirit truly, a true instrument of the divine. But it's scary sometimes, but it requires a lot of patience and trust and courage. But anyway, we are living in a time where there's a lot of energetic momentum. A lot of that shadow work you've been doing these last several months, it's not all in vain. Allow it to culminate in the way it's capable of doing, I would suggest. Number 2 is heart chakra. I didn't write it, but opening. Heart chakra opening. It might not seem that way for some of you, maybe for a lot of you. Right now you might be in it. Right now you might be in your patterns, the trigger, the feelings of being triggered, unresolved conflict, interpersonal conflicts. You might not be pleased with how you're reacting to some of these provocative circumstances and people in your life, and you might feel like the opposite of your heart chakra opening. But what I'm learning, and I've learned, and you probably maybe agree as well, is that a lot of times for something like our heart to open, we need to deal with what's blocking it in the first place. It reminds me of this breath work. I do a somatic release breath work sometimes for groups of people. And during the ceremony, right before we begin, I always ask everyone to write down their intention. And I tell them to put it into one word. What's one word, a one-word intention you want to receive, not get rid of, but receive from this ceremony? And people say, well, love, courage, clarity, confidence, things like that, gratitude. And I'll always say, and this is something I was taught to say by my instructor, Stephen Jaggers, I'll always say, well, here's the deal, folks. All of that is already inside of you. The love, the purest, untouched, divine love is not only inside of you, it's what we are made of. But in order to actually experience it consciously and express it in our physical 3D reality, we have to remove what's blocking it. And the way that works practically is challenging characters float into your life when you're not expecting it and ping you. They ping your pain body, basically. And then you have this egoic flare up. And then they sometimes do as well. And then it can escalate and gain momentum. And then you're thinking about it when you shouldn't be thinking about it. When you're eating dinner with your family, it's on your mind. When you need sleep because you have an important day the next day, you're going through it. And what does that do though? For one, it sheds light onto the areas you need work, which is humbling and it's not fun, but it's got to be done. It also forces you to think outside of the box and to become aware of what's working and what's not working. Circumstances like that, you might be realizing controlling doesn't work. Separation doesn't even work, because if you haven't resolved that energy in yourself anyway, you're still entangled energetically, even from miles away maybe. Winning, being right, may not work. None of it works. The only thing that does work is letting go, accepting, forgiveness. Sometimes what can be really powerful, I'll just skip right to the tip I have here, is to forgive regardless. This is something I never would have agreed with back in the day. I always had like my own opinion about that idea of turning the other cheek. But I will say, just from my own life journey, this last like several months, I've been kind of going through this, if you can probably gather. It's been the only thing that actually worked. And say, okay, people are going to do what they're going to do. And I can try to, control it or influence this thing that's kind of out of my hands as best I can. But for one, it's exhausting. Two, it seems kind of like I can't cover all the angles anyway, so just let it go. The people involved, how dare they? Okay. No, I won't let myself get smacked, but I'm realizing that the one thing I can control, and this comes from this book I was reading for a long time every morning, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. He's a Stoic philosopher, a real genius, a really tapped in guy for back in almost 1500 or something years ago, really wise soul. He's always saying that like the only thing we can control is how we act, basically, how we respond. We can choose to live, how does he put it, in accordance to our own constitution. Meaning, we can choose to live in integrity. We can take the high road, always. It's not always easy, but it is always an option. And in that, there is a deliverance from the yuckiness, the yucky energy, and the drama. And it leads to this feeling, at least for me as of lately, of just genuine forgiveness and compassion. And regardless, I think that's what I'm hoping, it's not just me, I'm hoping it's happening to other people too, because I really think that's what the world needs. Because there's just so much competition, such a battle for who's right and who's not. And it's all we have are these different perspectives, heavily influenced by our conditioning. So none of us are really in any position to claim what's right and wrong. We're just seeing through our own distorted glass, foggy filters anyhow. But what can kind of make that all null and void is to drop back into our hearts and to just realize we're all doing our best and just be cool with people. Let people have their opinions. Let people do what they want to do and play out their karma in the way they feel is right for them. And when people come in and they you can defend yourself, but you can also not get entangled by forgiving regardless. Anyway, that's just where I'm at right now. That may or may not land for all of you, but I wanted to share it regardless in case you're in the thick of it and you're the one in midst of a challenging situation. Just remember, maybe this can help you, and hopefully it can. And finally, my friends, number 3, comfort and safety in the unknown. We've all heard this from the masters that have come before us and the philosophers and the poets, that the only constant in life is change. There is a birth and a death of all things physical. And you also may have noticed that your life experience, the rate at which you process through the human experience, does it not seem to be speeding up quite substantially? So, I don't know about you, but I've experienced way more change in the last decade than I can ever recall. It seems like things are always just changing and evolving and transforming and breaking down and giving birth to something new, and it's just constant. And it's becoming more obvious of what the masters have been telling us the whole time, that there is no safety or comfort in the static physical circumstances. No matter how much money you have or your relationship, we're always ebbing and flowing and moving like a river through life and changing. So there is no safety in that. But we want to feel better, don't we? We want to feel safe, and a lot of us don't. A lot of us have anxiety and have this feeling of unease because we're trying to find safety in the physical, and there is none to be had. And I'm not trying to preach to you. I'm saying you might be realizing this. You might be waking up to this in a more embodied, grounded way and realizing, well, you know what? There is safety in the moment. I had a coach named Doug, real wise cat. And he would always tell me that. I'd always come on the Zoom call and he'd say what's going on. And I'd say, well, Doug, you know, this and that. And I got this I'm dealing with. He'd always tell me to breathe. He said, well, what's happening right now? Well, right now in this moment. Well, not much. He said, look around. Is your house on fire? No. Obviously, Doug, no, it's not. Your kid's safe. They're at school. You're healthy. I'm not dying. I had a protein shake in my belly. I'm good. Well, I don't know. It's about catching yourself from veering off into the future, into these projections. And there's this genuine safety in the moment that's more accessible and more obvious now. It just takes a couple of breaths to sink into that. And also with that, your discernment for being on track with the flow of life, with your ideal path, versus being off track, it's clear as day, is it not? You can now feel, sense, and even it'll play out quite obviously when something in your life is off kilter, it's not right. And then conversely, when something is right, there's this lightness, this resonance that's almost hard to detect, but it's this compatibility. And a lot of times the situations that contain this energetic compatibility in their earlier stages especially lack the structures and the data and the facts and the roadmap that would satisfy your logical mind of feeling safe and so forth. But again, even with that stuff, life's always changing, it doesn't matter. But what you can rely on is your own awareness and your own ability to discern when you're on track with something. Reminds me of when I was going through my big shift years ago in 2016. I sold my businesses, I sold my house, sold all my belongings, and moved my entire family into a 21-foot RV and headed out to California from Michigan on blind faith. And there was no safety to be had. I was constantly dealing with a complete blank slate. There was nothing my mind could grasp to comfort myself. There was zero safety. There was no examples of safety at all. But I had that feeling. I knew I was on track. I knew that what I was doing, as wild as it was and crazy as it seemed, felt right in my body, in my bones, in my soul. And you know what I'm talking about. You have that too. It's just when we look too closely at the details that we very quickly wind our mind up with the what-if scenarios. And I just wanted to share this point to remind you, you can do that, but it's just going to make you nuts and drive you crazy. And just remember, you can just trust the energy of everything, the underlying energy, the degree of resonance and compatibility. It's obvious to you, maybe more so now than ever before. And the combination of all these things, it really is about faith and trust. And a new way of going through life, a new way of manifesting, no longer in a self-serving way. Not that we are wrong, but now it's more like you can have your preferences, you can have the things you want in life, and way more probably, and we're going to do it in this way that's also very effective and has a nice ripple into the collective, into the people in your family and your community and your friends. We can create this win-win, but you got to let go, because you're not going to be able to figure it all out. And in doing so, by forcing you to tap into this deeper aspect of yourself, this new identity of self that's connected with all, you might feel the compassion and the love and the good vibes. I hope you do. It's a new one for me. I haven't felt this loving, I would say, in quite a long time. And it seems to be the key to real happiness, I would say, and makes a lot of other things seem unimportant. And I think it's all connected. And then again, thirdly, just understanding how far you've come. You don't have to wonder if things are okay. You just know. You have a knowing. Why not just go to that above all else? It can be spare us all a lot of wasted time and mental energy trying to figure things out and control them on the physical level, when we always just know. So with that said, my friends, before I go, I figured I'd let you know I have a free guided meditation that I made myself a couple years ago. It helps you connect with your higher self. It's free. I'll leave a link down below if you want to check it out. And it will also give you access to my newsletter, where I email you folks. Quite about 60,000 people are on the newsletter. And similar messages like this, I will write out and just send to you a couple times a week, in addition to that free meditation. But if you want to take advantage of that, I'll leave a link down below. With that said, if you don't want to, that's fine. And I'll see you next time, my friends. Have an amazing day. Have a beautiful new moon. Much love to each and every one of you. Thank you for the work you're doing. Peace.